All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my review for what is the greatest episode of any series ever, Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 3, The Long Night. Oh man, alright guys, so spoiler warning, if you guys have not seen The Long Night yet, we have the episode title now after the episode has been released, and if you missed it earlier, I did my reaction to the episode. Unfrickin' believable episode, like I said, spoiler warning, the best episode ever, right? The best episode that's probably ever been done of any series ever. I mean, this one was incredible. The amount of time that the build-up was for this one, I mean, this one has literally been set up and has been building up since the premiere of the series. And to finally see it now in its final format, fully released and everything, it was a long time coming. We had to wait a little extra while for them to get this one done, but I'm happy that they took their time, because what they brought us I would say, easily the best episode of any series I've ever seen. I mean, they really pulled out the stops with this one. Even bringing back Melisandre, who I did not think we were going to see. I did not predict to see her back again in the Game of Thrones series. I thought she would basically be gone for good, but she came back in awesome fashion and allowed us to be able to see, and that was really cool throughout the episode, that there was so many sequences where, especially near the beginning, like you can't see the enemy, right? You're not able to actually see the dead until they're right in your face, right up against you, stabbing at you or trampling you as a giant or trying to eat you or whatever else they're going to do. I mean, they were so fearsome, they were so scary, and, really, really cool stuff. So we start the episode off, and we have everybody getting ready. We have Ghost, we have Melisandre. It was really cool. And they threw out all the stops, man. They really did. The Dothraki go in first with all their blades lit aflame, thanks to Melisandre, and until it's lights out and we see every single one of those flaming swords go dark, which I thought was really cool to actually to see, because it was just intense, right? It really instilled a lot of fear in you. It's like, because we've always throughout the series known that the Dothraki in the field are very fearsome. They're very scary, and they attack with the horse lords, so they attack with their on horseback. They're very good in the open field. The others, like even Robert, very early in the series, in the very first season, he says like only a fool would confront them in the field. And so we see them in this one. They go out in the field, and everything goes dark, right? They're just swallowed by the blackness. They're swallowed by the darkness, right? Amazing. So then we have the some of the horses kind of riding back, and just kind of the dead, right? So the dead are already here. So Daenerys wants to go right away because her people are dying, which makes sense, She's losing the Dothraki. She just lost them all, basically. And that's one thing that we're going to have to discuss after in our predictions for the fourth episode. Because remember, this isn't the last episode of the series. We still have a few episodes left to go. I think this one could definitely be the final episode of the series, or the second last episode of the series, and that would be fine. But there's still other stuff out there. Cersei's still out there, with all of her forces. So there's other things out there. There's other stuff still yet to come. We'll have to see how this episode affects that, because we just basically saw almost everybody fall. I mean, the amount of people that are still surviving, that are still alive, even from the Unsullied, and all the different joint forces, is like very few. So how are they going to face Cersei now? It brings in some really, really good questions, right? So the dead are already here. They start flapping. The dragon fights were really cool. I like to see the dragons come through and light them up and stuff. And man, that was cool. We got Arya and Sansa sticking with the pointy end, so I like that. That was the name of the episode throughout the series, I think, right? The pointy end. So that was funny. So I like that. And we get to see all of our different heroes as things are getting ready. You've got Bran and the others. Stand your ground as the dead kind of come in. And man, it was really cool to see. Sometimes hard to see, but that adds to the fear aspect of it, because you can't always necessarily see where they are and how many there are and everything. And we don't get a clear understanding of when the dead's forces are going to end, like when it's going to end, because they just keep coming in like a tidal wave just trampling over, smashing into the lines of our heroes, and whether it be the Unsullied or some of the others, Tormund or the Hound or anybody else, you just see them kind of keep coming, and then they crash in like just a wave, and then maybe our heroes are able to, the survivors are able to beat down the first layer or two, but then as the third, the fourth layer kind of come over, they're just rolling over people. And again, it's back and forth, and I turned the lights off when I was watching it because it was hard to see because it was so dark in the filming, which really added to the fear aspect. I don't look at it as a negative at all, but there was just so much happening. You probably got to watch it a couple times over to get the gist of, even before I do my predictions video, I'm going to look back and see, like, okay, who's still alive at the end of this episode? Let's watch this again, because I want to get clear on who's still going to be there after this episode, because there's just not many left, right? So we see that come through. We got the gates. So then they kind of have to retreat. They got to kind of go in the gates. So Lyanna orders them to open the gates. So they start to kind of pile in. They start to kind of retreat and fall back inside of Winterfell. You've got you've got the dragons fighting at the same time. The Night King actually appears to be there, which was one that actually was a little bit of a twist because it wasn't one of my predictions originally. If you watched my predictions video last week, you'll know it was pretty much on point. Actually kind of crazy on point with this one. But people brought it up and they're like, well, what if the Night King wasn't there and he went to, he took the undead dragon, he went to King's Landing instead. And that's a good prediction. I thought it was a really good prediction. I thought it made a lot of sense. I was like, oh, wow, that could be interesting, right? If he did that instead. But, he ended up actually being here. He ended up being there. And so as a result, yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what that means for the rest, what that means for afterwards. And the dragons fighting was really, really exciting just to see because they're over top of everything. You've got kind of this ice storm that kind of comes through, which I'm not sure if the White Walkers are responsible. I would think they would be. Some kind of, their magic or something they can do. And it's kind of cool, like the fire, of course, is for the living in this one. Like, fire is on the side of the living, even though the Hound is not necessarily down with that, right? And then the cold and the freezing is on the side of the dead, right? The cold death, right? So you have kind of them go out, and then you have the haze everywhere. They can't see, and they're kind of fumbling around. They hit each other at one point. The dragons, Daenerys and Jon, and then finally Melisandre and the others are able to light it up, so Daenerys is able to see and kind of come back afterwards as things just continue on forward. And some really scary scenes all throughout here. Tyrion and Sansa get a good scene where they basically decide to stay down there. And if it wasn't for Daenerys, they'd all be dead already, Missandei says, and that's probably true, right? We get to see in this one. They needed absolutely everything they had, and even that seemed like it wasn't enough right up until the last minute with Arya there. We got the Ravens and them being able to see. We've got the Night King and just absolute chaos everywhere, right? Chaos just all over the place. Things happening everywhere, climbing the wall even, and them, like hitting him down, Jaime in there somewhere, and Brienne and Pod and all the rest. They're just mixed in. Arya's a badass, killing everybody and doing really good. The Hound's getting scared, and then Beric's like, well, little girl's fighting, and you're scared here. And he ends up sacrificing himself, which turned out to be awesome because that's how because Arya was alive, they were able to beat the Night King. But Beric basically sacrifices himself to help her, and he's just getting stabbed everywhere and that. And even the point, like later on with one of the dragons, Daenerys, the one Daenerys was riding, just getting like stabbed everywhere by the dead. There's just like these little undead corpse, soldiers, right? Little guys stabbing all over the place. It's brutal and nasty. And I did like the part with Arya in the dark, which was pretty reminiscent of kind of maybe some zombie apocalypse movies or some horror movies like that, where she's in the dark inside Winterfell. Obviously, she knows the terrain really well. She knows all the rooms. She knows everything. So she's avoiding the dead, and they're kind of coming after her. And she throws something, and then they all go running at it. And then she goes down the other part, and she has to stab the one up through here. And the blood just comes like right out of it. And it's like black, like dark red, black blood with the blue eyes and everything. So when we did get to see the dead up close, they were very, very scary. There was a lot of scenes where, it was in the field and stuff, so you don't really see them that close. You're like, oh, shit, that's scary. But that actually was probably the scariest part, was when Arya was by herself and they're just we just get the sense, just this horror movie sense of impending doom, that they're everywhere. And that's kind of where I kind of started to, as we got closer to the end here, I started to kind of question myself and whether or not this would actually have a happy ending, because I'm like, oh my God, there's just so many in there. They're everywhere and they don't stop. And then it just got worse when the Night King resurrected the whole bunch, when Jon was charging at him and he raised the dead. And basically he just turned all the fallen on the side of Winterfell and our survivors just switch sides, right? So they all are fighting the dead and they're falling as they're going. And then he literally just raises them all up again. So whatever numbers of the dead were lost up until that point, the Night King just raised them all back. So literally he just brought them all back to all the, he just converted. His forces have been converted. The ones that he lost ended up, killing the living that were there, which in turn he's raised back to replenish his numbers. So necromancy to the skin. Always my favorite. I used to play Diablo, right? Diablo 2 and stuff. Necromancer was always my favorite character because I was always like, oh, this is cool, because then you could just have them fight for you, right? It's like the Night King knows. Yeah, the Night King knows all about that, right? So that's really cool. What a cool character, man. Man of few words, right? Doesn't say anything. Smiles. This is about the most emotion we get out of him, is him smiling after Daenerys tries to charcoal him. Dracarys, which was a cool scene, but I knew it right away, like, that ain't gonna do it, right? But it was cool. It was very cool to see. So, not today, right? Arya and the others kind of get in, and Melisandre says to her, what do we say to the god of death? Not today, so that was very cool. And, man, that set up so well for Arya to be kind of the hero of the series, or the assassin that is the one that ends up taking down the Night King, because not today, right? So, oh my God, foreign bastard. So that is so cool, man. You just think back to like the earlier seasons, and her to become the one to do it was so cool, man. Then we have a Theon. So he goes badass form for Theon. Basically, he goes through and he runs out of arrows. He shoots them all. And so then it gets to the point where he's like fighting with the bow and stuff, and doing what he can, charging at the Night King and everything else. The dragon's kind of going down, and Jon versus Viserion with a blue flame everywhere. Very cool. Sansa and Tyrion, and just stuff all over the place. And then we basically come down to the last sequence here as the Night King slowly sort of walks in White Walker fashion, because they take their time. They get here. It takes 8 seasons for them to get here, but they're here now. So he's going to take his time. He's going to enjoy this a little bit. Bran in front of him and everything at the God's Wood, I think they called it, right? And so in his Professor X type of chair, which was really cool, Theon goes down, and so he comes in to finish it off. And then you have Arya, who comes in out of nowhere to get him with the dagger. And then, no, it doesn't work because he grabs her. So you twist the one way, and then she drops it, and she grabs it again, and then she stabs him in the guts, and that's the one that does the trick. I'm trying to think back if that's the same dagger that was used to try to assassinate Bran. I think I don't remember the name of it offhand. I'll have to look it up. You guys can leave a comment below if you want to, but that's really cool. We've seen that dagger before, right? So, okay. So in the end, I mean, we wrap things up. The good guys have sort of won, but they've basically lost everybody except for a few standouts that have been able to somehow survive the long night of just killing dead one after another, and then running and avoiding and killing more and trying to survive. Also forgot to mention, as I mentioned in the reaction, the Lyanna Mormont death was really crazy too, because when she kind of, it looks like the giant's going to eat her, right? And she stabs him in the eye, but then she dies afterwards and comes back later on too. So that's about, man, long episode, long night. Crazy stuff, but that ends with Davos watching Melisandre kind of walk off and sort of take off the necklace and go back to her true form and quit messing with everybody and show how old she really is. So she walks off into the distance to go where, I don't know. Maybe her purpose is fulfilled now, so she's going to go off to die, to end her life, and maybe the necklace was just keeping her alive because it was putting her in a state where she was kind of younger, and once that comes off, she'll go back to her old age and probably just die maybe then. So all in all, man, I mean, score for the episode, I don't think I've ever gone over 10, which is like, because I go for 10 out of 10 is like a perfect episode, but I feel like I got this one like a 13 out of 10 because it's so over the top, unbelievably amazing to see this in what's supposed to be a TV series. I no longer really think of Game of Thrones as a TV series. I think it's kind of surpassed that adjective of like TV or the way you would describe, that type of series. It's kind of, it almost feels like it's unworthy to call it Game of Thrones just a TV series. It's it's almost in a category of its own. You could say it's like a movie series or HBO. If you guys didn't know, HBO means home box office. That's what the HBO stands for, home box office, which just simply means you're watching movies, but you're at home. Home box office, home movies, basically. But of course they're produced. They're not just playing, movies all the time that you could go to theaters to see. But home box office. I mean, I think that this series is about as close to, in terms of the levels. So usually you're used to seeing certain things on the small screen that you don't really see, on the big screen. The big screen generally has higher quality than the small screen. The movies get the bigger budgets. They're able to do more. They feel more epic. They get, the bigger name actors, usually, or actresses. And, they usually can do the CG. They can take more time to make it. And so usually that's where you see the most epic stuff is in the movie theater, right? I think HBO with this one, and they've done this, there's been some great series, Sopranos, The Wire, some of the other series they've done. They've had some great series. But I really feel like with this one is probably the closest they've ever gotten to producing a series that does not just feel like a TV series, but it really is true to their name of being able to watch a movie series from home. I think right here with this episode and all the build-up and how incredible it was, it's just at such another level. I can't even think of Game of Thrones anymore as like a TV series. I feel like it separated itself from just a TV series to become something different, a special series, an event series, a movie series, really, that you get to watch, on your TV, right, at home. So all the build-up, all the wait, all the years to get to see this, the White Walkers finally, facing our survivors together, the ones that are still alive at Winterfell at this time. And it's the greatest episode of any series I've ever seen. I mean, Battle of the Bastards up until now, that was the episode to beat. I think that was the best episode they did. Winds of Winter, Battle of the Bastards, those two, and then some of the others after were still really good. But I think this one for me is the clear winner as probably the best episode of Game of Thrones and probably the best episode of any series I've ever seen. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff all the way through. Very exciting. Some of the best stuff in different genres, horror, just being so thrilling, action, and then right up until the end, keeping you guessing to where it really got to the point where, like I said in my reaction video, I was thinking, if you think this story has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention, right? Right up until that point, I was like, oh my God, they're just going to kill everyone. They had me convinced. As Arya and the others were just like, you just hear them everywhere. You just get the sense that they're everywhere and they've got no chance. And once he raises the dead that have fought on the side of the living in this earlier on, once he adds those to his numbers, you really get the sense that it's over. It's over. And that's how the series is going to end. The series is going to end. Night King's going to kill everyone. He's going to kill Cersei and the others in the next few episodes, and the series is going to be over. That's what it's going to be. And Arya comes in out of nowhere and kills him. Unbelievable. So, which I did think it was going to be Arya. Why? Assassin type of character would be exciting for the end. I just figured, Arya would be a cool one to do it. Either Arya or maybe Jon, and maybe Jon falls in the process. Because that would have been epic too, to see a sword fight between the two, and maybe Jon wins or they kill each other and Jon sacrifices himself for them to win. But no, in terms of who's alive and who's dead, you guys feel the need to go through that. I probably have to verify, go back and see who's gonna survive out there, like who's dead now. Who are we sure is dead and who do we think is still alive? I think Jaime's still in there somewhere, right? Did I miss a scene where he got killed in all the dark chaos? Daenerys is still alive. Jaime's still alive. Sansa and Tyrion's still alive. Theon's dead, of course. Bran's still alive. Jon's still alive. Arya's still alive. Is Brienne still alive? I'm trying to think. Like, you hear a lot of screams, and stuff like that. I'm just trying to think, man. I don't know. I better double check before we discuss, who was killed and not, because that's how crazy this one is. I mean, I'm exhausted just watching it through because it was an event. Like I said, it's an event type series. So that's my review for The Long Night. I mean, the episode to beat, probably the best episode of it. Probably no one's going to be able to top this, I don't think, for a very long time. And a fitting, epic end to Game of Thrones and to the North, which was really cool. And I absolutely loved it. You know, so happy with how the series has turned out. And I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Leave your comments below, man. That's it for my review. Check out the reaction if you want to see my more emotional, just after seeing it type of feels. And predictions video for episode 4 will be coming soon. Lots to talk about with predictions. Maybe we should do a Who Died video so we can go back and give our thoughts on, you know, just exactly who died and how we feel about it, because I just feel like, you know, I got to go through it. I'm like, I need to double check this and be clear on who's alive right now and who's dead, because there was just so much chaos that I'm not even 100% sure myself. You know, I think one of the dragons is still alive, right? Right? I hope so. Yeah, man. That's it for this one, guys. I'll see you again soon for another. He flew off somewhere there. I think he's alive. It's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon. Wow.